Yes, we knew that she liked fine Italian food. She liked very expensive olive oils, vinegars, salami, cheeses. Her favorite meal was, and they of course my grandparents had her in their house often. She also was the one who decided my mother's eldest brother would not be in surgery because he just didn't have an appetite for him. So she, in a sense, sent him to internal medicine. Her favorite meal was salami and provolone, olives from different places in Italy, and what else did they say? Oh, and of course bread. And she was a very little woman. I think she was 4'11", and her feet were little and so on, because we had shoes and stuff of hers from time to time. Stuff would turn up. She also did some wonderful things from Grandpa. When they would take her to Palm Beach, she sometimes did leaf things and so on that were around. And then in the Catholic Church, when I told my wife, who grew up an Episcopalian and Anglican, some of these things, she thought I was making them up. The fact that they cut up the saints and sent the pieces to all the different churches, and that there was a thing called a reliquary. We had all these relics of Mother Cabrini, cloth that she had touched and part of her clothing. I don't know how long they're going to keep doing that. I think the nuns are still doing that. But she was eloquent. She was tough and fierce, and she only lived to be 63. She founded 63 institutions in the United States in the time she lived. And of course, the other thing that seems so exciting to us, she was the first canonized person who was an American citizen. And she became an American citizen, and she wasted no time about it. In other words, she certainly could have stayed here she took it very, very seriously. And I was reminded of it when I was this is sort of unrelated, but it's related. I was at Hyde Park when I was a child with my father, and Eleanor Roosevelt had a driver's license for which she went and took a test. In other words, she took the thing seriously. Mother Cabrini took very seriously the idea of being a citizen. She had a passport, she had all this stuff, and she worked very hard in this country, and I think she was. And the other thing that extraordinary about Mother Cabrini, her education ended when she was 17 years old. In Italy at that time, that's what a school teacher got. She was finished at 17. She founded the Missionary Sisters of the Sacred Heart, and the order is still around today, and I think it's extraordinary. This is perhaps a very personal note, but I think an incredible coincidence. I own a restaurant building. I was renting it out. I was interviewing people who wanted to be tenants there. So I brought one of the interviewees, and of course there's a picture. We have a portrait of Mother Cabrini in the living room. It turned out that her aunt was the head of the Cabrini order at this point. So here Mother Perazzoli, who is Giulia's aunt, is head of the Cabrini order, and here we are. I mean, you would think the chances of that in a nation of 250 million people, now 300 million, you think, how could this happen? Of course it happens, because that's what America is, a series of intersections where people come together and do wonderful things for each other. So I think it is the city on the hill.
What is your fondest memory growing up?
Holy Thursday. It was the liturgical calendar. Holy Thursday, Easter was magic to us, and Christmas certainly was too. But Holy Thursday, the pilgrimage to the old Italian neighborhood, to each of the 5 churches, to the French church, to Our Lady of Pompeii, to St. Charles Borromeo, to Mother Cabrini Chapel, and to Holy Family. We used to do the pilgrimage. Mother would make a big fuss about it, as she did about everything. There would be this sort of walking pilgrimage. All the churches would be gloriously decorated and lighted. The so-called French church, which now has been taken back by the Archdiocese, had a grotto with in the bottom and down in the basement where there were rocks from Lourdes, where you would put a penny in a thing, and then we would light candles forever. And of course, lighting candles was an exciting thing as a child. They had long wax wicks, sort of. So we'd go around, so then Holy Thursday, and then afterwards, we would go to this restaurant called Tommy Granado's Pizzeria. It was not Granada, it was Granado's, and my whole family would be there, probably 35 people. So after the visiting of the church. And then Easter was magic, and everybody, like in America, got new outfits and went to the Como Inn for dinner. Again, there were 100 of us. Today, I don't think I could get 100 people to come together for stuff like that. So I miss it. It was wonderful.
What if you, how do you think we can preserve some of what, of our culture that was brought over here by our ancestors?
I think the best thing to do is to remember. Films like this are wonderful. Children seem to be interested. You hope that they understand that the magic of this place is the mixture, and that all stories are good stories, and that even if memories aren't exactly, I'm not terrific on some of the dates. I can't. A lot of it is residual though with Calvary Cemetery, and Calvary began on Astor Street, and that was the first Catholic cemetery, and then they moved it in 1883 up to Evanston. All those cemetery places, the stones tell the actual date people were born. They don't often tell when they came to this country, but I think it's really essential to understand. People have to understand their origins and their roots. And I think de Tocqueville said, in America, class is determined not by your situation but by your aspiration, and that's true here. What people aspire to be is what they are. I am absolutely tickled pink that Tony Scalia and Sam Alito are on the Supreme Court. I thought that would never happen in my lifetime. And also, as I look at their stories, they're the same story we had. With education, they brought them law degrees. They quietly, they both married Irish Catholic girls. They did the regular American thing, and they're sitting on the great court. I think these are glorious things for people to remember. And it's not enough to know just that the man on the court has an Italian last name. It's important to know where they came from and how precious the journey was, how easy the journey was. In this country, it is easy. You don't have to be a Habsburg. You just have to keep your head down and pay attention. I think also the Italians have a gene pool. Everyone has a gene pool. Art, history, and it seems the law is something that came to us naturally. Also caregiving, medicine came to us. So we have to cherish those gifts and keep them alive and so on. But it's important to remember, and I think it's important for people at my stage in life to tell the stories and to share the stuff. I hope my great-nephews and nieces are interested in hearing these things. I'll make them as entertaining as I can. This would be very exciting, too. This will be a first, yes.
Mike, before we wrap it up, do you have any final comments, something that I didn't ask you?
No, just to say thank you. This is a great opportunity. And also, after this thing is done, I'll preserve it and keep it. So.
Thanks.
And thank you for doing this.
Sure.